Last class, we talked all about the grain group, and today we'll be talking about another group. Here's a clue. Eggs belong in this group. Hopefully you're familiar enough with my plate to know that eggs belong in the protein group, and this is the group we'll be talking about today. But before we get started with our lesson, let's do a fun experiment that involves eggs and matches. For this experiment, all that you'll need is a glass jar with a narrow neck and a piece of paper, fire, and I have a hard-boiled egg that I peeled the shell off of. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the air pressure inside the jar. I have a piece of paper that I'm going to light on fire and stick in this jar. And now fire, I'm sure you're aware that fire needs oxygen to burn. So if we take away that oxygen, it's going to burn all the oxygen inside the jar, and it's going to lower the air pressure, which causes like a sucking motion. So you can see that this egg is much too wide to fit into this jar. It's way too wide, both sides, for it to fit through this hole. So we're going to lower the air pressure and cause that sucking motion. More like a suction. All right, so I'm gonna light this paper on fire, get a nice burn, and you see that? Popped right in there. Pretty cool experiment, right? Maybe you can try this experiment at home. The protein food group is essential. It's so important for our body because our body gets amino acids from these protein foods. Remember, amino acids are the building blocks of protein, similar to an alphabet. The alphabet has 26 letters, and those 26 letters can form to make millions of different words. That's very similar to the protein group. When you eat some type of protein food, maybe a chicken breast for instance, when it goes into your stomach, it begins to break apart and be digested. When it's broken apart, these proteins turn into amino acids, similar to the letters of the alphabet, and they can be put together to make all kinds of different proteins. Your body has about 2 million different types of proteins, and those proteins help with functions inside of your body, transportation. It also helps with things forming such as your nails, your hair, your skin, your muscles. All of your body processes need protein, and they are able to do this through those different types of amino acids. There's 20 essential amino acids, and that means that your body does not make them, and we get them from protein sources that we consume. So protein amino acids are similar to these beads. They can be combined to make different types of protein that are used throughout your body. So similar to a strand of pipe cleaner, those beads can be rearranged into different patterns, and those patterns then are used to make different proteins. And then these strands of amino acids can go all throughout your body to the places that they're needed. Another thing that protein food does for our body is helps us to feel full longer, just like fiber does for our body. Protein food helps our stomach to stay full longer so that we don't get hungry as quickly. The reason for this is our protein foods take longer to break down and longer to digest, so our stomach stays full and so we're not hungry as soon. So if you tend to get hungry before lunch at school, a great thing that you can do to stop this from happening is adding protein to your breakfast. You could add eggs, maybe peanut butter to toast, a peanut butter granola bar, or a delicious snack that we'll be making in a little bit. It would make a great way for you to stay full longer at school so you're not so hungry before lunchtime rolls around. All right, your next clue of what the protein group does for your body is a battery. The protein food, along with the grain group, it gives your body energy, especially the vitamin B. Vitamin B gives your body the energy it needs to break down food and to function in all the different ways that your body functions. And that vitamin B comes from your protein group. Next is some blood. Pretend blood, obviously. But our body gets iron that makes our blood, and the iron gives our body energy and our ability to change our oxygen in our body so that it can have all of the oxygen that it needs to function properly. And this iron comes from the protein group, which is another essential reason that protein food is so important for us. And last but not least, a Band-Aid. The protein group is so important for our body to repair and to build. So say for instance you're exercising and you have really sore arms. What possibly could have happened is your muscle tore a little bit in the process of exercising, which isn't all bad. What happens is your body sends protein amino acids to those muscles to help them to get bigger, to repair the tear or whatever problem has encountered, and to get stronger and build bigger. The protein group is especially important when you're growing as a child and when you get into adolescence and you're teenagers. Your body is growing at a rapid pace and it needs all of those amino acids so that it can grow and function as quickly as it is needed. The protein group is so important for your body, so important that you can get it from different sources. There are some people that choose to not eat animal sources and eat a vegetarian type diet, or people that choose to eat no animal sources or food that comes from an animal and lives by a vegan diet. These type of people that decide not to eat animal sources can get their protein amino acids from plant sources, such as peanut butter or beans or nuts and seeds like sunflower seeds. And these are important ways for their body to get those amino acids. It's a lot easier to get those amino acids by eating a variety from animal sources and plant sources. But if you choose, or people you know choose not to eat animal sources, they just try harder to get them from our plant-based sources. And they can still live healthy lives with the protein and amino acids they need to function properly. Very important. Another important thing is to focus on eating lean protein. Lean protein means that they're healthier, they contain the healthier type of fat, unsaturated fat. This type of fat is healthier for your heart and does not clog arteries. A good way to tell if a meat is a lean meat or a fatty meat is by the animal it comes from. You can tell this by focusing on the animal, the size of the animal, and how active the animal is. Here's an example. I have hamburger, which comes from a cow, right? A cow is a big animal that's not very active. If you have cows or you know someone who has cows, you're very familiar with cows standing around and eating. They don't move very often, which is why they're so heavy and so big. This type of meat, though good for your body in moderation, does contain unhealthy fat called saturated fat, and eating this type of meat in moderation is our best option. Now, if you were to think of chicken or turkey, for instance, if you have chickens, you know that they're small animals and they're very active. And this activity causes their meat on their bodies to be leaner and healthier with less of that saturated, unhealthy fat. Focusing on getting the healthier type of fat in our healthier protein sources gives your body all of these important functions, from amino acids to staying full longer to vitamin B12 and iron and zinc, in our healthiest option. This is why the USDA recommends that you eat more lean sources of protein versus our unlean, less healthy options. Let's practice making a healthy recipe where we put this into practice. Today, our protein source we will be using is plant-based from peanut butter. Peanut butter does contain some saturated fat, but it is primarily unsaturated healthy fat that comes from peanuts. This is a great source of protein whether you're a vegetarian, vegan, or choose to eat all of our protein sources from plants and animals. Today for our protein recipe, we're going to be making one of my all-time favorite protein recipes. It also incorporates some whole grains, so it's a win-win recipe. This recipe is called Oatmeal Energy Bites, and maybe you've tried these before. They're super easy. They only require a few ingredients. You can eat them for breakfast on the go, for snacks with your lunch, or even for a dessert because they are very sweet. Let's get started. The first recipe, or the first ingredient for our recipe, is going to be 1 cup of oats. These are really inexpensive and belong in the grain group. They are whole grains, which means they have not been processed to have any part of the grain removed. We also will add in a 1/2 cup of peanut butter. Now this is where our protein comes from. We'll add that peanut butter right into our oats. And next we're going to add some honey. Now this creates a little bit of stickiness so that the recipe will stay together. We're going to do a 1/4 cup of honey. we'll just mix this together. And this will add a little bit of sweetness as well. Is this recipe looking familiar? Maybe you've tried this before. We're also going to add, this is probably an unfamiliar ingredient for some of you. It's called flaxseed. But this flaxseed also belongs in the protein group. It has a lot of protein. It comes from flax and gives you protein from the seed. It's been ground, so that means it's like a flour, a powder. And we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of this. Now, if you don't have flaxseed at your house or you can't find it in the store, you can use more oats here. You could also try crushed up cereal. You can experiment with lots of different ways. This just adds a little more texture and more protein to our recipe. So I'm going to use my spatula to mix these ingredients together. And then we're going to add one more ingredient, which I'm sure you'll be thrilled about. We're going to add some chocolate chips. Now, typically we don't want to add a lot of sugary, added sugar to our recipes, but I'm going to add about 1/3 of a cup of mini semi-sweet chocolate chips. And you, of course, can experiment and do different things. Another tasty add-in you can add to our recipe is some dried fruit like raisins or cranberries are another great way to make this recipe, maybe a My Plate energy ball, where you incorporate some dried fruit as well. So I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of these mini chocolate chips. They're like mini size. You could also use full size ones. You could do milk chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, a mix of different kinds. I've also seen peanut butter flavored chips before, and those would be delicious in here as well. So I'm just gonna mix this together, and it's that simple. We're already finished. I'll show you how delicious it looks. So we just have our oats mixed with our peanut butter, honey, flaxseed, and some chocolate chips added in there. And then you just take out some of that dough and roll it into a ball and put it in the fridge. You don't even have to cook it. So simple and easy, right? And you totally can eat it right now, right as you're making it. Putting it in the fridge just helps it to harden up so it holds its shape a little better. You don't have to store them in the fridge, but they do, like I said, hold their shape a little better, and they're not quite as squishy when they've been sitting in the fridge for a little while. And that's it. So simple and easy. I'll make sure to send this recipe home with you so you can take it home and hopefully create it with your family and enjoy this recipe for snack time or a quick breakfast if you're running late in the morning. Today for your outdoor activity, we'll be having an exercise competition. The PE teacher has a list of different exercises, and she will break you into 4 to 6 groups. Once you're broken into these groups, you will form a circle, and the PE teacher will call out some type of exercise, like jumping jacks, crunches, high knees, or burpees. You will participate with your group to do this exercise as many times as you can. Once you're tired and you tap out, you sit down. The last person remaining in the group doing the exercise will move on to the next round. Then each winner from each group will come together and compete to see who can do it the longest out of those groups, and you will continue until there is one person remaining. We will then move back to our groups or resituate groups and continue this with a different type of exercise. Remember, exercise and protein food is a great way that you can build muscle and stay strong and healthy. Focus on eating those healthy protein foods this month, and the PE teacher will give you a recipe so you can make our delicious protein recipe at home with your family. See you next time. Goodbye.